Jay in Parkin, Arkansas. Brenden is in Marion County, Florida. Ocala, Limestone.
Call me the DoorDashian. I'm the DoorDashian.
He's the DoorDashian right now. That's right. And he's wearing his Irish green Erin Go bra.
Christmas.
Gaelic as I
Bob,
speak.
it's Christmas time, Bob. Don't you know?
It is Christmas time. Merry Christmas. I love the music. And look, we are going to be balls to the walls college football today.
You might be.
We got Kevin Scarbinsky. Scarbo Knows does a great podcast right here on this channel. You got to love him. Frank Duffy, the world's most interesting man. The Dos Equis guy is gone now, so it's Frank Duffy.
Is he gone?
He's not on TV anymore. I don't know if he's still living, but Frank is in Cancun. Happy birthday, Frank Duffy. Happy birthday to our granddaughter in Atlanta, Chandler. God love you, man. We were there when you were born. That was wild. 3 years ago today. We got Doug Dean joining us in a moment. In the second half, we'll have Ken Capps from Norman, Oklahoma. He's covering the Oklahoma-Alabama game, and that is going to be a good one tonight. So, look, be cool. Take a picture with your cellular phone of all the codes. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Merry Christmas. It is a great time of year. Cousin Eddie, I saw him on I-40 heading your way. The splitters broke in his RV, and he's going to need to stop at your house. But we got a lot to cover today.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
What's that?
New movies.
No. Well,
yes, you're gonna quote new movies in 2026. We're gonna stop quoting things from the 80s.
That's right. Well, that was 89. You're right. All right. Yeah, but look, let's get started right now and crank it up. We're going to be covering.
Hold on. Pick your microphone.
The big one tomorrow in Oxford, Mississippi. Kevin, I've got to say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, and Doug will be with us in a minute. I'm here in Memphis. The biggest sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi has got to be this college football game at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, Tulane and Ole Miss. I call it the Transition Bowl because Ole Miss's coaches are in transition and so are Tulane's. What do you think is going to happen? And first off, thank you and Frank, Brenden, Doug, and everybody for being on this show with us, and also everybody that's watching. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and Merry Christmas. What are we, T-minus 6
Scarbo
days?
knows.
T-minus 6 days and counting?
Yep.
When you've got,
I want people to scream at you for like, Scarbo knows.
Do you know, hey, hand to God, wait, wrong hand. Last Saturday, I'm at Legacy Arena for the Alabama-Arizona basketball game, which was a really good game for, 20 minutes or so, and then Arizona imposed its will and pulled away. And at that point, Alabama basketball and football had each lost their last game by 21 points. I don't know if that means anything. But I'm walking through the concourse because I took my sons, and we sat in the stands, and somebody yelled out of the blue, "Hey, Scarbo knows. Love your podcast. Watch every minute." First time anyone a stranger had said that to me, so that was nice to hear. So what was the question? Ole Miss.
I got tackled outside the swamp. They're like, "Hey, Brenden Marks." I was like, "Yeah, that's my fan right there, boy. Hammer."
Ole Miss, yes. What a momentous day for Oxford, Mississippi, and the University of Mississippi football team, and a preview of future SEC games between Pete Golding and John Summerall. That will a little bit be interesting there to see how those teams perform. Look, this is a rematch, one of a couple in this first round, and we'll see one tonight. Look, Ole Miss is the better football team. You just don't know what you're going to get. I have a feeling they're going to be so fired up because of the occasion, because of everything that's happened in the last month, that the Rebels are going to come out with their hair on fire. Now, sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes you get a little too wound up and you don't pay attention to detail and you make some mistakes. But they should win the football game. I don't think anyone would dispute that. We'll see how quickly they get into just football mode and get past the initial emotion.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, one of the things, I've got Tulane covering 17.5 points, but you can be too jacked up. It's like you take a test and you skip and you don't read the full sentence or you don't read the full question.
And I always are we allowed to do this? Brenden was just talking about not making references to the 80s.
Yes, you can.
But in terms of football teams, we'll keep it to football, Brenden. Yeah. In terms of football teams being jacked up, I've never seen a football team be more wired than the 1989 Auburn team, the first Iron Bowl in Jordan-Hare Stadium on the Plains. The Tiger Walk was so intense. Everybody had to walk single file. The fans were pushing in so intently. And big, strong football players like James Joseph were hyperventilating in the locker room once they got through Tiger Walk. They were so fired up. And Alabama, played well. They were undefeated at that point, and under Bill Curry, his last year at Alabama. And so you can be too emotional. And I think for all of these teams, especially the home teams, that's a danger. But it'll wear off. First time you get hit in the mouth, you'll start playing football, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, and look, I think Frank got a little bit verklempt when they brought in Lane Kiffin to be the new coach, and he said, "I put my reputation on the line, 100% guarantee as an unpaid journalist." Frank, happy birthday again. It's your birthday for 2.5, maybe 3 weeks, but we love you. I love you.
Thank you, brother. Well, this is the season, and if there's any team and coach that has ever played the Grinch better than LSU and Lane Kiffin, it is us this year. And we know our role, and that's cool. But look, our little brother down in New Orleans, I think, watch out for Tulane, because we were talking about this on another show, and one of our contributors said, one thing that can cause a team trouble in the playoffs, if you have a hot quarterback who's very accurate, and Ratzlaff is a hot quarterback. I watched Tulane play 2 games live. I watched them against East Carolina, and the other opponent escapes me. But I was in Ullman for both those games, and when I tell you, I watched that kid hit almost every receiver in stride. So I think Tulane does have a puncher's chance. To Scarbo's point, I think Ole Miss is going to come out fired up. They're irritated. They're mad as a murder hornet. But, and I will agree, that'll all settle down once they get hit in the mouth for the first time, or that, that offensive guard, is against that defensive tackle, and then it'll normally set in place. But I'm telling you, Tulane, I think, has a little bit of a puncher's chance in this. But make no mistake, Ole Miss is on a mission. They feel that they have been disrespected. They've had sand kicked in their face. Yeah. And look, those kids are going to go out and play for Pete Golding. They are. Yeah. So I'm interested to see that game. But I'm telling you, before we get to that, I think tonight's game is going to be very, very interesting. Yeah. And though I didn't think Alabama should have been in, I would have lobbied for Notre Dame, because I was in the Georgia MBS and watched Alabama struggle against a much stronger Georgia team and the -3 yards rushing. But having said that, I think Alabama gets in tonight, and I saw how anemic Oklahoma was against us. And if not for a blown coverage in the secondary, Oklahoma's not even playing in this. I think Alabama is going to come out and lay the lumber to Oklahoma. And let me tell you, if anybody knows how hard it is to beat Alabama twice in the same season, I know, my 2011 Tigers. So I think tonight's going to be a fascinating game. I think all the games are. Yeah. But even though Ole Miss is a big point spread favorite, Rob, I'm with you. I have a sneaky feeling that John Sumrall, before he leaves town, leaves a little Christmas present. They might not win it, but I think Tulane is going to hold their own as being someone who is being referred to as shouldn't be in this game.
Yeah, and Tulane's a cool story, and I know a lot of people that went to school there, and they're all very smart and very successful. And it's just a neat. And I'm a big John Sumrall fan, and I'm with you too, Kevin. You did such a great job of juxtaposing the first 2 years of Kalen DeBoer versus Nick Saban, and also everybody loves Kalen DeBoer until Oklahoma. We all know this: the patience is not in abundance in Tuscaloosa, Auburn, any of these SEC schools. A third loss in 13 months to Oklahoma might send some people out into the streets into insanity. But I think Alabama wins this game. But then again, you got to give Oklahoma credit for forcing those 3 turnovers November 15th in that 23-21 game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. What do you think happens? You've had more time to assimilate and process information as only Scarbo knows. Watch it 2 or 3 times a week on this channel, folks. It's one of the best podcasts in the world.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rob. Last night I did an episode, a prediction episode of tonight's game, and Frank hit on it. I look, I'm not comparing the teams, this year's Oklahoma team is not 2011 LSU, and this year's Alabama team is not 2011 Alabama by any stretch of the imagination. That game of the century, one of the hardest hitting, most physical, intense games I've ever seen, I've ever witnessed in person. Most of those, so many players went on to the NFL, so many of them on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
But Alabama, and I said this in last night's episode, Alabama felt in its soul when they walked off Bryant-Denny Stadium on November 5th, 2011, they were the better team. They didn't win the game, but they felt they were better than LSU. They felt they made one of the greatest defensive plays I've ever seen at the goal line. I don't remember the LSU DB who just stole the ball from the Alabama tight end. Oh, just an incredible play and saved the game, really.
Dead.
And so, but Alabama, and we talked to people there during the run-up to the BCS championship game, and they all were ultra confident that they were going to win that game. And then, of course, they put it on LSU in the Superdome. And I think we could see something similar tonight if Alabama doesn't turn the ball over. I think Oklahoma is one of those teams that's been skating on thin ice. And you mentioned, Frank, the LSU game. Their defense has carried them. Their special teams have carried them. They've got the best kicker in the country in Tate Sandell.
Yeah.
But I think Alabama is – I know they're healthier than they've been in a long time. Josh Cuevas, when they went to the airport last night to fly out to Norman, he was not in a walking boot for the first time in a long time. He had a big game against Oklahoma the first time. I think Jam Miller will be healthier. They will be Parker Brailsford, their center, who was – I don't know how he even played, and the people down there say the same thing, how he even played against Georgia. He probably shouldn't have in that SEC championship game. He's had a little time to heal up. So they are fresher, healthier. Everyone should be, of course. That goes for Oklahoma as well. I have a feeling this could be a breakout game because if you look at the box score from the first time around and you didn't know the score and you didn't look at the turnover category, every other indication was Alabama outplayed Oklahoma. Alabama should have won the game. But they didn't, obviously, because turnovers matter. And they weren't just turnovers. They were turnovers in negative territory. There was a 87-yard pick six that gave Oklahoma a 10-0 lead early. So Alabama was running uphill in that game. I think the first 5 minutes of this game are going to be so important for Alabama not to fall behind. And you don't want to be running uphill on the road in that stadium. And if they can stay ahead of the sticks on the scoreboard, if you will, I think Alabama wins the game.
And you're right, Scarbo. If you go back to the first 5 minutes of that 2011 game in the Superdome for the national championship, the exact same thing happened. Alabama in those first 5 minutes, Nick Saban coached that game like the first quarter of the Natty. Les Miles coached it like the sixth quarter of the first game.
Yeah. Let's bring in Doug.
Great description, Frank.
Yeah. Let's bring in Doug Dean. And I don't know where the noise is coming from. There's something
Doug, you got to mute in between.
I've got Doug coming in now. But, Doug, we're talking about this Alabama-Oklahoma game. And, we know this could be 3 losses in 13 months for Alabama against Oklahoma. Alabama doesn't want that. Their fan base will go apocalyptic. They'll go crazy. What do you think happens tonight? It's going to be on TV, prime time. It is the game. But I think, too, the NFL, no respect for the college game, is going to try to squeeze a game in here, too, aren't they? I mean, by the way, I don't even know who's playing in that because I have not watched an NFL game this year.
Was there a question in there?
Counselor.
Yes, counselor. Yes, counselor. There was a question in there, but I was trying to.
You made it too easy, Rob. I love you, buddy. Hey, Scarbo, great to see you again, my friend.
You too, Doug.
Good to see all of y'all. Happy, safe, and happy holidays, everybody listening. First, if I can cheat, I want to, because I heard you guys talking when I was in the green room about Ole Miss and Tulane. I'm calling that the Buyer's Remorse Bowl. Is Florida going to feel remorseful? They shouldn't. I mean, if you get smoked again by Ole Miss, it's just a talent gap, I think, mainly. But if Tulane makes it a game, I'm not going to. If I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm not going to panic. I mean, you lose Kiffin, you've lost a major asset. Let's be real, at least in terms of running offense. Maybe not in terms of stability of off the field stuff. Duff, you signed up for it. Get ready, man. You sold your soul to win games, and I think LSU is going to be just fine on the football field. So, but I think both JMU and Tulane are going to get smoked. Everybody's going to say, I'm mean. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. I just think the reason the G5s are in, let's be real, is to avoid an antitrust lawsuit. And if they go out and look good and win, I will tip my hat to them. But I think both are going to get smoked by 2 or 3 touchdowns. And I hope we go to 16 teams. Keep the G5s for legal and sentimental inclusivity reasons. That's fine with me. And one of these years, you could have one of them rise up and make a deep run. But back to tonight's game, it's going to be a really fun one to watch, I think. I don't have a pick. I know this seems like the last week or two it's fashionable to pick Alabama, and I think some of that is because everybody's still looking at that crimson scripted A logo and assuming that it's still a Nick Saban coach team. The reason I think Alabama has earned the privilege, most of us have, they've got to go show us that they can have a competent offense, and they've got to show us that they can at least be physical enough to have some semblance of a running game threat. And what I would do, not the next game I coach will be the first, but I would quit trying to run up the middle and off tackle when your offensive line is not really built to do that. They'll do that some, but I would get those jet sweeps going with Ryan Williams. Have you seen that guy float on air? He's back to his form. I think he could be a big factor tonight. But my player to watch for Alabama is Cuevas. That's not original. But if he's going to be the hot read when that Oklahoma front is coming from places you can't predict, down after down, they'll blitz on 1st and 10. And I just think fans and analysts have a natural tendency to undervalue great defense. It's not as sexy as this flinging the ball around, and I appreciate what Alabama's done through the air midseason, especially. They struggled to keep that going recently, but I think some of that's injuries. Oklahoma seems to be a little more healthy, but not a lot, a little more healthy than Alabama, if you believe those reports. Cuevas has been upgraded to probable, so he should be good to go. And I think he might be the key. If he catches 5 balls for maybe 50-ish yards as a hot read for Simpson, I think Alabama's going to be right there at the end. But I still have a hard time confidently picking against Oklahoma at home with the kind of defense they're going to bring, because do you think Matif is going to continue to be mediocre all this far into the season? And do you think Simpson is going to quickly, against that kind of defense, get back to his midseason form? I don't have the answer. That's what makes it a fun one to watch.
What gives me hope for Alabama, Kevin, is that they get into a scoring match. And Roman Harper was on here with us last Friday. He said that's where he favors Alabama. And I do too. John Mateer's hand is going to be the critical part. What do you know about his health, the thumb? I tell you, I get nauseated when I look back at the Texas game when he played with blood coming out of his thumb. I don't think he's been the same, Kevin. And
shouldn't have played.
Yeah, shouldn't have played. I mean, certainly the next time I do surgery, as Doug said, will be my first. You wouldn't want me to do
good
surgery.
To know.
Bailey's and a gummy, and I'm ready. Kevin.
Well, first of all, Doug Dean, did you not watch the Oklahoma-Auburn game? Did you not watch an Auburn offense quarterbacked by Jackson Arnold drive 70 or 75 yards in the fourth quarter in Gaylord Family Medicine State, whatever they call that thing at OU? Did you not watch them drive in the fourth quarter to score the go-ahead touchdown on that defense? I'm pretty sure I saw that happen. I know it was a long time ago, and I'm poking fun at you a little bit.
It's not a subtle point that you're making.
Nor was it meant to be.
Objection, I will say, overruled.
I will say, I think Oklahoma is there, but again, Frank pointed it out first, by the skin of their teeth. They have not looked impressive. Everybody's talked about Alabama in November. And in October, Alabama was much better than November Alabama. So what are we going to get? And December Alabama, we're going to flush that one. That was a shell. That was a team held together by chewing gum and what is it, baling wire? What's the old expression? I don't even know. I don't know what baling wire is, but apparently they needed it to get their team out on the field.
JB Weld.
They are. Alabama is a healthier team. There's no doubt than they've been in some time. But I don't have confidence in this Oklahoma team. I saw some of the LSU game that Frank referenced, even the Missouri game. They're just – I just think they're fortunate to be there. And if you look in SEC stat categories, as I did the other day, Mateer's in the bottom 5, 2, 3, 4 in taking out the fact that he missed some games and missed some time. But quarterback rating, he's in the bottom 3. Completion percentage, he's just a little bit behind Ty Simpson there. But he's thrown 12 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions.
Yeah.
Ty Simpson's 26-5. There's no comparison here at the quarterback position. John Mateer has not been what he looked like he might be when the season began before he got hurt against Auburn. He just hasn't been. And Ty Simpson, for all of his struggles, is a far better quarterback than John Mateer. And Ty Simpson threw for 300-plus yards, 326 to be exact, when they played in Alabama in November. So, again, Alabama's a better football team. I have no hesitation in saying that. They've proven it throughout the season. They have not played at the same level for the entire season and certainly over the last month. But I think we're going to see more of October Alabama tonight than November Alabama.
Let me throw something in here real quick before we go to Frank. I love James Flash Ludeman up in Winchester, Tennessee. I've gotten to know him here recently. Big Alabama fan, really knows the game. Ryan Williams has to be a factor or Alabama is going to have a long night. Doug referenced that a minute ago. The O-line is the second factor because Simpson didn't have much time in their last meeting. Frank, who has a dominant offensive line that scares you in the SEC or much less for that college football as a whole? I just don't see it anymore.
Well, I think the best team in the SEC is Georgia, hands down. And I think if Georgia gets on a run, if they get past this next game, good luck with taking them out before the finals. I see a Georgia Indiana sort of matchup. I see that. And watching Alabama struggle against Georgia's defense, for Alabama to have -3 yards, and for Georgia really moved the ball really well. That. And by the way, the game was not as close. I sat in MBS and watched that. The game was not as close as the score. But having said that, I also know that when Alabama comes out, they're going to be kind of like the hot wild card team that goes into the NFL playoffs that's on a roll and they get hot. So, I like Alabama. I like Georgia. If for SEC teams, I think Oklahoma is a false pretender. I really, frankly, think Vanderbilt could have beat Oklahoma on a neutral field. For a play-in game for the playoffs, if one would have been there. I think Texas would have beat them. So I see Alabama being too strong in this game tonight. And let me tell you something. Alabama is one of those teams with their great pride. They know how they looked at MBS. Yeah. They're going to come out. I guarantee you those freaking practices the Boers had them going through, they're going to be ready to play. And like Scarbo said, they're healthy. And a healthy Alabama team, I think, is 2 touchdowns or more better than Oklahoma. I'm shocked Oklahoma's favored in this, to be quite honest. I don't know if that's a sucker bet or what, but I am absolutely blown away that Oklahoma is the 1.5-point favorite in this. If I was a betting man, and y'all know I am, my cash is going to be sitting on the Crimson Tide. And for, again, an LSU guy to say that, it pains me, but I see a lot of similarity in that 2011, enough of that 2011 season to say it's very hard to beat an Alabama team twice in the same year.
Doug B. Dean.
I'm going to take a flyer on Dan Lanning finally making a breakthrough. I know it's Oregon, and the conventional wisdom lately is that once they go up against really physical teams like Ohio State or whoever they may face, maybe Texas Tech's front, that they'll struggle. But I think Lanning is preaching a toughness. They can cause you problems. And I think he saw where they needed to get better from a year and two ago, last 2 years. And I would be careful betting against Oregon, but I'm with Frank. Georgia, same old usual suspects, right? Georgia looks like a team that's gotten better about 5 or 10% every week. And they've had, a down week here and there. But Georgia, man, they're not exciting offensively. Mike Bobo gets such criticism from his own fan base.
Yeah.
But he has given Gunnar Stockton exactly the kind of play calling and just lean heavy on the run, be more physical, win the fourth quarter, make the other team not want to play the fourth quarter. And that's a team I'd be scared to go against anywhere at any point in the playoff. But I think Oregon might find a way to win the hardware finally this year. Dan Lanning.
Doug, can I say one quick thing?
Yeah.
One analogy, Rob, and I'll turn it over to you. Doug, Georgia is like the surgeon in your hospital that causes no ruffles. You never hear about him, but he has successfully taken out more gallbladders than anybody on the medical circuit. That's what Kirby is. He is a surgeon without fanfare, but who always has his team playing. And if you can tell me a trajectory more, because even Ohio State and Indiana, their trajectories I don't think as big as the one. Georgia has been on a trajectory since September that has them doing this.
Well, I was just going to add something. Since 2010, Oregon is tied for fifth most victories in college football with Oklahoma at 161. The only teams ahead of them are Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia. All right, it's a very crowded, small field. Now, since I started keeping track of national championships in the poll era in 1936, those aforementioned schools have combined for 34 national championships. Since 2000, in this millennium, in this century, Junior Samples, that's BR549 for you. In this century, they've combined for 13 national championships. Kevin, before we let you go, and I appreciate you being on, we got Ken Cap, should be on in a minute from Norman, but tell me this. Oklahoma's still not, as George Carlin said, it's a club, and we're not in it. They're still not in that club, and for a long time, they had a different costume every Saturday, uniform, whatever, and money and Nike. Now everybody's doing that. You think Oregon can break through along the line of what Doug Dean and Frank just said?
No.
Threw a lot at you. Okay, there you go. No.
No.
That was a lot.
Short answer, no. I'm not buying the Ducks. I am buying Georgia. Georgia's my pick to win it all. And since we're on a 2011 flashback tour, this Georgia team reminds me somewhat of 2011 Alabama. A.J. McCarron was more of a caretaker and a game manager that season, his first year as the starter, than he was a playmaker. He became more of a playmaker as he got older and more experienced. By the way, he's the new coach of the Birmingham Stallions.
That's right.
I don't know what that means, but for someone who's never coached, we'll find out. Shortly, since it's a spring football league. But this Georgia team just looks so dangerous to me. They play defense. They run. They did to Alabama what Nick Saban's Alabama did to so many teams. They beat them with joyless murder ball. They just pushed them around. They hit them in the mouth. They made them like it. And Alabama had no physical response, which is so un-Alabama-like. But not many teams can do that. Georgia's one of the few, and they're certainly the best at it. So I like Georgia to win the whole thing. And I do like Alabama to win tonight. And I think there could be some separation. This could be that 2012 BCS championship game where they kick a field goal here. Well, we're not counting on Connor Talty to win the field goal battle against Tate Sandell. But I think they're going to control the game. I think they're going to get an early lead. And that's key to watch also. When Alabama gets a lead on you and they free up Ryan Grubb to do some things, I think you're going to see some creativity. I don't know if does Caden Proctor throw the ball tonight? I don't know. He'll come up with something unusual, I'm sure. But if they don't turn the ball over, if they don't lose the turnover battle and lose it decisively the way they did in Tuscaloosa, then I think Alabama wins the game. And they may not need to do it in the final minute.
Well, if Ty does an A.J. McCarron play action for 17 to the tight end to open it up, I'll tell Oklahoma they're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, before Kevin goes, I know the viewers are waiting breathlessly for Kevin's picks in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, and the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl.
Kevin, you're on the clock.
You know how many minutes of those games I will watch?
All of them.
Muzzle.
Kevin.
0.
And don't forget
0.
the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. That makes you feel warm and fuzzy, doesn't it?
Yes.
I don't even know. I don't know what that means. I don't know where that is. I don't know who's playing in it. No, I've got one game on my mind right now. That's Alabama, Oklahoma. And I will be glued to the television tonight, as I know you guys will be as well.
Kevin, let me tell you this too. And folks, all of you watching, and Kevin, thank you more than you know for everything you do for this show, for this channel, and your podcast. You just roll with it. And, I know what it's like being, you're a writer in Alabama. If you say something good about one of the two schools, oh, you're a homer. Kevin, you're
he is a homer.
Yeah.
He's a Bama homer.
Apparently, I'm a Bammer right now, according to Auburn Twitter. And it doesn't have anything to do with football. It's all about basketball at the moment.
No, you're awesome, Kevin. I hate it when Kevin comes on because we're all out of our weight class when he's on here.
Stop it.
Well, we're going,
Stop.
and Kevin, the thing is, you're a true grit journalist, and thank you more than you know for sharing your time with us. And Merry Christmas. Again, let people know how they can follow all the great work that you do, and we'll see you again next week. And what an awesome prediction. I'll be thinking about you. I'll be texting you during the game tonight. It'll be fun.
All right. Well, follow me on Twitter /X at Kevin Scarbinsky. That way you can keep up with my columns in the Birmingham News, which is now an online subscription publication, not a newspaper, sadly. You also can keep up with my podcast, of course, on the Sidelines.live network. It's called Scarbo Knows. Hope everybody will check that out. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic Christmas and New Year. And we'll be talking soon, I'm sure.
Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
Love
See you,
it.
Kevin.
Now, you talk about having two true grit journalists. Here's another one. Football Writers Association of America, proud native son of Austin, Texas, has a son named Austin. God, you got to love it. But he's true. Look, man, you tell it like it is. You are in the parking lot. I guess, are you in Norman yet? Have you gone up there? You're muted. You're muted there, Ken. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself. But I know it's about 2.5, 3 hours north of the Metroplex to get up there. This again, Ken, you let us know when you can hear. But Ken, are you in Norman yet?
No.
Driving up there?
Yes.
Oh, you're in transit.
Yes.
There you go. No. I don't think. I think Frank and Doug can attest to this, and Brenden as well. The greatest in transit interview we ever had on this podcast was when Lauren Smith's phone had a shot of his nostril. It was the
nose hair city.
The phone had fallen out of his hand, and he was driving. But it was a great interview because I absolutely love Lauren Smith, and we got an earshot one time too. But Ken, you're going up to Norman, and this is going to be a cool atmosphere tonight. We just been talking about it, and also Ole Miss and Tulane. But first off, thanks a million for joining us on the show. Always love having you. Drinking a 7-Eleven Slurpee, I'm sure.
And Ken, blink twice if you become a hostage at any point in time during this discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. Ken, he's frozen. Oh, my goodness.
He is a hostage.
Well, one minute he was turbulent. I needed a Dramamine. Now he's frozen.
Yeah. Well,
pull it together, Ken.
Yeah. But before we go back to him, I want to ask, Doug, you and Frank, real quick, give me a score on Ole Miss Tulane tonight.
Go ahead, Duff.
Well, tomorrow, I think Tulane loses by 14, which means that they cover. Mm-hmm. I think Tulane, and look, I'm telling you, I watched this kid for 2 games. This Ratzlaff, quarterback, the one that came down from BYU. I'm telling you, he hit every receiver in stride when I was sitting. And look, you can't get a bad seat in Ullman. You're right on top of the action. Yeah. I mean, in stride. And that's the one thing. Remember, Roman even said it. The one thing you need, if one of these Cinderellas has a shot, you've got to have a quarterback that can move the ball down the field and be accurate. And I think there is a puncher's chance for Tulane to keep it close. Do I think they beat Ole Miss? No. But I think they can maybe come in and cover the spread.
I think, first of all, I like Sumrall, and fans have trouble. Everything doesn't have to be either John Sumrall is great or he sucks. No, that's not true. I think Auburn got the great hire in Golish. I think Florida got a great hire in Sumrall. They're both going to win games. And by the way, they meet third game of the season next year in Auburn. So that'll be an early read on these two coaches. But as for the game tomorrow, I do think John Sumrall has a gift that coaches rarely get, which is absolutely no pressure.
Yes.
He can throw the kitchen sink. I'd call my offensive game plan and defensive kitchen sink plan, baby. I'd throw everything in the world at Ole Miss because let the kids go have fun. And I think I do, it was 45-10 early season. They got smoked. That happens in games when you go G5 and Power 4 with coached by Lane Kiffin. So early on, we'll know is how turbulent is it for Ole Miss not having Kiffin running the show offensively. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. He wasn't calling plays for the most part anyway. And there's a win, and he won't be going on 4th and 3 at his own 20. Ole Miss won't. But I do think it's probably a really interesting game for a half, maybe into the third quarter. But I just think Ole Miss will be too much, and they win by 2 or 3 touchdowns, but not 45-10.
Yeah, and that's where I think they can cover that 17.5. It's kind of like if you've got a pilot that flies you all over the country in your Falcon Air, and he can't be your pilot, and you've got a substitute coming in, you're going into bad weather. If the guy's the pilot, you assume he knows what he's doing.
Well,
but I think the shock of Kiffin but also, guys, people have brought it up on the show. Kiffin, how much you want to bet he's involved in the game plan and coaching from a secret box in the side of a mountain?
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Because
I tell you what,
I'm just saying.
I guarantee you they're going to have a watch on him. LSU people are going to be watching him like, oh, no. But here's the thing. Let me prove a point. Don't think of the color blue. Do not think of the color blue. Don't even think of the color blue. You were thinking about the color blue. I'm telling you, the distractions of what Ole Miss has gone through in the last 3 weeks, I don't care how much they say it hadn't affected them. It has absolutely affected the Ole Miss program, and I think you see it in the first quarter and a half against Tulane, whether they want it or not.
Yeah, just like we talked. DJ Durkin, when he was the head coach, was different than being the defensive coordinator in that Vanderbilt game. Pete Golding is the head coach now, so he's not going to be able to focus every minute on his defense. Ken Capps, looks like you pulled over to the mobile studio. Now, look, Ken, let's get your thoughts. I saw your bullet point notes last night. As I like to say, you prepare like a trial lawyer going before the Supreme Court of the great state of Louisiana with their very, very good law, the Napoleonic Code. But, man, talk about Oklahoma and Alabama tonight because you're covering it.
Yeah, I tell you, when you're literally on the road like I am, I literally pulled off on the side of the road. And of course, I had to get a cup of coffee at 7-Eleven. I'm going to get these guys as corporate sponsors next year.
Please do.
So when I pulled over, I muted my mic. I'm sorry about that. But hey, before I get started, I know I heard Brenden give the edict about not quoting old movies, but I have to say to Frank, happy birthday, you filthy animal.
Thank you. And keep the change.
Keep the change.
Hey, we're going live to Hook'em Ken Capps in Norman, Oklahoma. Now, Ken, what do you think about this game? Well, the Aggies suck. Okay, back to you, Rob.
Well, man, I tell you what, there's so much news out here on the western front of the SEC.
Yes.
Man, there's so much to cover, especially after yesterday. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And look, Ken, that's what I call this, the Western flank. The
Duff's birthday?
Yeah, it's a birthday. Absolutely.
All right. Happy birthday.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Well, you know what he gets? It's a happy birthday from everybody. He gets a good hearty aye. Ken, you're going up there for this game. You know Brent Venables. You know his story.
Absolutely. And that's my very first point I was going to make. Yeah. We've been talking about it on this show for the last 2 years. Brent Venables did not forget how to coach when he got to Oklahoma.
Yep.
And so here he is. He's at 10-2. I've heard you guys all day, for the last 30 minutes anyway, talk about how Alabama is going to just, waltz through this game. I think Alabama's got a good chance of winning. But let me tell you what, Oklahoma playing at Gaylord Stadium, that's going to be a tough one for Alabama to get by. Yeah. And let me tell you what, there's going to be another thing going on tonight. It's going to be 30 frickin' degrees in Norman. Okay, it's 70 degrees in Dallas right now. It's 30 degrees and the wind's going to be blowing like crazy up there. I checked the weather forecast to see what kind of threads I was going to take up there. And my gosh, it's a good thing. I mean, Oklahoma has Tate Sandell, our Football Writers Association All-American kicker and, All-American across the board. And he may be the difference in this game. The other thing, we're talking about Mateer. It was announced yesterday, and, I don't know whether this is whether it's a ploy by Oklahoma or not, but they announced that all the tape is off his hand. And, I mean, he's going to be at his best for the year as well. So, yes, I know Mateer has had a, kind of an off year compared to what he was supposed to have. But I think he's going to be at his best tonight. And of course, the Oklahoma D is the one thing that has kept them going this whole season. And of course, where did they have one of their best games? Against Alabama. Their D had all of the turnovers in that game. Of course, they only had 2 losses. One against the dreaded Texas Longhorns in Dallas, and then number 2 against Ole Miss. Where? In Norman, Oklahoma. Yeah. So, I think this is a real trap game for Oklahoma. But my gosh, to go into Gaylord Stadium with my friend Robert Whitty from right here in Dallas, Texas, where Robert is as involved at Oklahoma as I am involved at Texas. And I'm going to try to stop by his tailgate when I get to Norman and at least check it out. He's a great guy, but to get with him and all of his friends up there screaming in that 30-degree weather, that's going to be a tough road to hoe for Alabama. So I think it's going to be a real toss-up. I can see where Oklahoma is favored by 1.5 because they're at home, but Alabama can certainly win this game. I want to talk about one other game real quick while we're here on the Western flank, and that's the A&M Miami game. And I call this the put up or shut up game tomorrow because both of these teams, I'm just real sick of hearing about them and them whining about where they are, whining about where they are in the CFP. A&M was mad after they lost to their dreaded rival, the Texas Longhorns, that they didn't get a top 4 seed because they'd only lost 1 game. Well, look at who they played all year. They didn't play anybody till they got to Texas in the last game. So I can understand why they're not a 4 seed. But they've still got a home game in the CFP. So quit complaining, okay? And then Miami, again. And then look at Miami. I mean, Miami caused such a stink that they got, Notre Dame didn't make it. Notre Dame takes their ball and goes home. And so, Miami is lucky to be in the CFP. So
Spoken like a bitter Longhorn, Rob.
No, I mean, hey, you know what? Brenden like this. You know what I've been saying in the last 2 weeks? Don't lose to Florida. Don't lose to Florida, and you're in.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. No, you're right.
So I don't have a word to say about that. Yeah. But I call it the put up or shut up bowl, and I just hope that that's a good game. I think A&M's going to win, to be real honest with you, because again, to go into Kyle Field and for Miami to come in there, they're not going to know what hit them. But again, if A&M wants to be all cocky and be all pissed off about everything, Miami could come in there and beat them.
Yeah. Well, I would love to be on the road right now in a Landers Ford F-250, fully tricked out sidelines.live going on the road. And I wonder when Ford is going to make a power play to buy Boomer sooner. Move the horses out of the way. We're pulling you with a dually F-650 or so. Brad Bellamy, LandersFordMemphis.com. Jump in this conversation, and then we're going to get your thoughts on Alabama, Oklahoma, and all these games. And then the forgotten one, the Witness Protection Program, is A&M and Miami here. But, Brad, how you doing?
Hey, morning, everybody. Glad to be on with you guys this playoff Friday. Exciting times ahead in college football. And also, guys, we're having an unbelievable month here at Landers Ford. And we got some programs that we haven't seen in a long time. They've been going since the end of last month. And we've got a lot of momentum right now. 0% on Explorer, 0% on F-150, 0% on Transit, which we have not seen 0% on commercial vehicles since I've been here. So huge programs out there, big rebates and lease plans on Bronco Sport, Maverick, We got the inventory, we got the traffic. So come on out and join us. Come check us out, Houston Levy and Poplar. But really excited, guys, just about how well this month's been going for us here. You know, December is typically one of the best months. Usually that last week of the year, the 26th to the 31st, is just kind of like balls to the wall, nonstop action. But, man, we've had a lot of traffic and a lot of business to start the month, and these programs have gone a long way to it. That and probably half the kids are at home with the flu, as their parents are trying to get out of the house and buy a car instead of being home with their sick kid. So,
yeah. Well, Brad, I want to say something too. As a sponsor, and anybody watching this, you talk about sometimes you have a big company in a big city and you don't see much out of them. Landers puts back so much into the Mid-South and everywhere, sponsoring the Touchdown Club, LeBonner Children's Hospital, so many high schools, so many, Doug, you know about, and Frank, as Catholics, about Agape. Frank, I mean, and all y'all watching, what Brad does is he every weekend is out somewhere doing something great. Landers4Memphis.com. We are blessed and honored to have y'all as a sponsor. And I want to get your thoughts, Brad, on this Oklahoma-Alabama game, because I know somehow you're going to get home or somewhere to watch it on the color TV.
Yeah, it's going to be watched tonight, and I'm just praying that Alabama knows how to hold on to the football. I mean, that's the difference maker, guys, in the last two games. Oklahoma's offense has been able to do nothing against Alabama's defense, both last year at Oklahoma as well as this year in Alabama. I mean, it's been an ugly, ugly game for the Oklahoma offense. I mean, the reality is if Alabama can hold on to the football, they will win this game. But the short fields for Oklahoma, the pick six, those are the things that have been killing Alabama against Brett Venables and this OU team. So I don't think Oklahoma can put up points. I don't know if Alabama is going to be able to put them up. That's my struggle in this game. Their offense did not look good against Georgia last week at all. They look very disheveled. We've seen, DeBoer's teams on the road. They've been more missed than hit. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of questions about what this Alabama team can do. I'll tell you, though, I do think if they beat Oklahoma, I think that they're a better matchup against Indiana than OU is. And I think they have talent
for sure
chance to on a neutral field at the Rose Bowl to win that game, but they got to get there first. And I know, you think about it, guys, most of the players on this team have gotten beat by Oklahoma twice. Are they really going to get beat a third time? And I just struggle with the concept with this OU team. We're not talking about Barry Switzer 1980s or Bob Stoops early 2000s. I mean, this is a above average Oklahoma team, but we're not talking about a great team. And nothing about them this year has been absolutely great. They've had a favorable SEC schedule, and they beat Alabama on the road. So they did what they needed to do to get there, which was win that game. But how ironic that if Alabama drives the ball, Oklahoma's not in, and you have Notre Dame in, and Texas is still complaining on the side.
No doubt.
But Alabama's probably hosting this game, as opposed to being on the road. Yeah. So,
wow. Game of inches.
So I go ahead.
And let's be honest, Oklahoma really should have 4 losses because Auburn had them beat and we had them beat. Honestly, Oklahoma is
Texas
lucky
should have 5 if we're going with that.
Well,
but Texas did beat them.
Yeah, well, I know.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is what's called a blackjack game. First one to 21 wins.
I was about to say, Brad, to listen to Brad, and good to see you, Brad. I want to compliment, lest I forget, Brad has helped sponsor the show. Thank you for that. But also, Brad has brought a lot of football IQ to this thing, and has been. If I'm following all season long, Brad's been right a lot more than he's been wrong about some of these games. Yep. And you have not been a homer every single week about your Crimson Tide. So props to Brad. But it sounded like you wouldn't be shocked to see a 17-14 kind of game either way. Is that right, Brad?
Yeah, so I'm on the radio on a local station here doing Landers locks each week, and my Landers lock for this game was Oklahoma under 20.5 points. That's the line that's been established for them as a team. And I don't – again, special teams and defensive touchdowns are the only way they get to 21 points, in my opinion. So I do think that their offense is not going to be able to move the ball, and Alabama's defense has just been – they've really shut them down.
Yeah. Ken, Ken, your thought, you're out there on the western flank, and it is kind of interesting. If you go back in the war between the states, the eastern press, Gettysburg, Pickett's Charge was everything. The western press, no one talked about the Battle of Franklin and the Stonewall Jackson of the West, General Patrick Claiborne, an Anglican from Dublin who lived in Helena, Arkansas, and practiced law. So you don't hear that much about the West because the SEC network's in Charlotte. So kind of bring us back up to speed. I think everyone makes great arguments for, pro, con, whatever. But, man, Oklahoma, this is not, this juggernaut Oklahoma team. And if Alabama, if it gets into a scoring match, a track meet, there's no way they keep up with Alabama with the skill players they have.
No, I think you're right. But I think that, I think we've all kind of said the same thing. It's, somehow Oklahoma has not had the offensive wherewithal this year, but their defense has really come alive. And, that's all about Brent Venables coming from Clemson and being an offensive mind. And like we said earlier, I just still remember when he went 6-7 and was getting his butt kicked everywhere, that we stuck by Brent Venables and said hey man, he hasn't forgotten how to coach. And it took him a couple of years. And what's gotten Oklahoma to 10-2? The defense. And so, the defense and being in Gaylord Stadium, man, I'm telling you, that's a real advantage. But hey, Lane Kiffin won in Gaylord Stadium this year. Why can't Kalen DeBoer? So I agree with what Brad said too. It's going to be special teams, the All-American Tate Sandell, and 30-degree weather, in my opinion, and home field advantage. We'll see if all that adds up.
Right?
I do want to say, though, one thing. I think Alabama wins this game. I really do. It's very hard to beat the same team twice, and I think Alabama is the better team. I don't think they need the 1.5. I'd money line this damn thing. But let's say Oklahoma does win this. Like Ken says, it's a frigid field. Like Brad said, Alabama lays the ball down on the 10-yard line, and Oklahoma gets an easy score. Brad, where do you see happening if Alabama does take a fourth loss this year? Does DeBoer look at going elsewhere? Does he look at Michigan? I mean, what do you think could happen if Alabama does have a fourth year a loss? And as a interested bystander, can it potentially come true that Lane Kiffin never coaches a down at LSU? Because all of these things are truly at play. What do you see happening if Alabama does lose this game?
Nick Saban comes out of retirement.
In your wildest dreams.
I don't think DeBoer leaves if they lose this game. I think that Michigan environment is not a great place to be at right now.
No.
And,
toxic.
I think that it could be a situation where there's some people in Alabama that are saying, all right, I'm ready for the DeBoer experience to be over. I mean, we talked about this 2 years ago, when he came on board, of how hard it was going to be to follow suit and follow Saban. And I mean, the reality is he beat Georgia twice, and that has got him to where he's at today in terms of being in the playoff. Outside of that, there's been a lot of question marks along the way. I don't know, though, that bringing somebody else in at this point in time and trying to redo everything for Alabama makes sense. I think he would be the one having to make that train happen. I don't think Alabama would get rid of him at this point in time. Now, next year at this time, if Alabama's not in the playoff or loses in the first round of the playoff on a road game, maybe a different story. But I think he's earned himself another year. And I don't know what talent Alabama has to pull from at this point in time to bring on board after the carousel that we just experienced.
Yeah.
So I would say what I could see happening is if Alabama has the same season next year, that Sark leaves Texas and goes to Alabama. I could see that potentially happening.
Wait, and you know what no one's talking about? And I'm there's been a hire. Yeah, Ken, there's been movement in the aisles on the defensive coordinator hire at Texas that no one's talking about. Ken, quickly on that, and then back down to Douglas B. Dean in Vestavia.
Yes.
Is Vestavia more beautiful?
What a bombshell yesterday afternoon. Will Muschamp
Beat me
get
to it.
hired as the defensive coordinator at Texas. And I know that nobody saw that coming because Sark has been very, very loyal and been very, very satisfied with PK at Texas. And, the Texas defense has been very good since Sark got there. But to get Will Muschamp is a real get for Texas. I mean, he was very popular with the Longhorn Nation under Mac Browne, and everybody thought he was the heir apparent to Mac Browne, but Mac Browne wouldn't retire. So what did he do? He went off and went to Florida. So it's funny you should say that, Brad, because if Sark went to Alabama, Muschamp coming to Texas, I bet Will Muschamp would end up being the head coach at Texas.
Yeah. Well, and quite frankly, Ken, I mean, there's still a lot of questions about what Sark's next job is going to be after Texas, if there is one. And so it at least sets you up for somebody in the program to give some stability if that happens. And Will Muschamp, like the other carousel, sorry, Brenden, but, not successful at Florida either. So, in that A&M game, you guys talked about it. I think the A&M Miami game, I know Kyle Field is an unbelievable place. I've never had a chance to go there, but I've heard it's one of the best environments in college football. But how much home field advantage have they really had over the last 20 years since they went to the SEC? I mean, I don't feel like that is a place where their win-loss percentage is that much greater when you compare it to some of the other schools in the SEC on the top tier.
Yeah, I agree. Doug?
Ken, I'm glad you brought up, as we call him, Boom. Where it's a family show, so I can't say the full reference to it. But I'll tell you, Ken, Sark made this segment of Auburn fanboys really unhappy yesterday. I mean, I think most people that like Will Muschamp, and I'm one of them, are glad he's back in the game. He's fun. He's so fiery. And I think there's some Auburn fans that would have hired him as head coach just because he gets angry and fiery on the sidelines. We want to eradicate that softness that we saw from Hugh Freeze. Anyway, I think that's a good hire for Texas.
Yep.
Will Muschamp does not suffer fools lightly. He's going to have players playing with their hair on fire. I don't think he's built to be a head coach. I wouldn't want Will to hear me say that because he might get in my face.
Right.
But I guess if Gene Chizik can come to Auburn, was it 3-19, Rob?
5-19. Yeah.
5-19.
Yeah.
And find a way to back into a natty with how that went, then why not Will Muschamp? I really like Muschamp. I hope he does well there.
I do too.
I think he's ready. Don't you think he's ready? I think this is a good spot for his career. I think Will Muschamp's had a long run. He's a good guy. I think he's going to do pretty good. Hey, real quick, Brad, 17.5 on Tulane and Ole Miss. Current line, I got to take the green wave, no?
Me too.
I agree. I think that there's so much distractions at Ole Miss because of this. Every fan of Ole Miss right now has already booked their trip to New Orleans.
Yep.
Everybody. I mean, they got promotions with the students for tickets. What does that tell you about the environment in Oxford? They've already won the game.
Yeah.
And the last time they did this earlier this year against Washington State, they almost lost. I mean, they had a team coming in they had no chance of losing to. They were thinking about the next week. They got a new coach. Tulane, the concern I have with Tulane is they've been very inconsistent. They play a half of football, and then they take the other half off. They did it against North Texas. They did it against Memphis. They did it against Duke and almost lost that game. So my concern with Tulane is, can they get enough done on both sides of halftime to be in the game the whole time? But 17.5 is a lot of points when you got so many people in Oxford that are thinking about New Year's Eve in New Orleans and going to the Sugar Bowl and playing against the Georgia Bulldogs. So I like the 17.5 for Tulane. And I also like that mustache. You're making me think I should get one.
Well, I was trying to get you to be like, you could join me and be like, not a part of like, get off my lawn crew. And, we could lighten this show up a little bit. I could probably get in a convertible.
I'm telling you, the JMU and Tulane are both going to get smoked. And I'm mean and I'm not inclusive for saying
you're a mean one.
I think Tulane's might just win and beat them right outright. I think it's a trap game all day.
I tell you right now, the Ole Miss fans, think about what I said earlier. Read the whole question before you select an answer. There's a lot of looking already ahead. The Green Wave, John Sumrall is on a mission to prove that they belong. And every time a team like a group of 5 gets in there, more donors are going to come out of the woodwork, and eventually they're going to. It's what makes the NCAA basketball tournament so popular is these Cinderellas or underdogs or whatever. Even though but think about when Butler back to back played for the national championship. That's exciting. That's what we love about March Madness. If we separated a group of 5 and a Power 4 playoff, I don't like that. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Thank y'all all for sharing your time with us. Merry Christmas to all of our sponsors, Rumble Boxing, Hewlett and Dunn, Landers Ford Memphis, hempforpros.com. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next week. Celebrate with your families and go help other people.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Oregon's going to roll, Doug. I agree. Oregon's going to roll.
It's going to be fun. Be a lot of texting this weekend. Thank y'all.